The mechanical link between cognitive effort and the written word has been severed. Universities exist to protect thinking. That is the one thing they are for. Everything else they do is secondary to ensuring that human minds learn how to process, analyze, and defend complex ideas. For centuries, the primary mechanism to verify this process was the essay. The essay itself was never valuable as a standalone artifact. It was valuable because of the journey required to produce it. The reading, the structuring, the agonizing decisions over what to cut. The document was simply the receipt, proof that the thinking had happened. Generative AI short-circuits that journey. A student can now produce a clean, referenced, logically organized essay in the time it takes to make a coffee. The machine hands over the destination without requiring a single step of the climb. A perfectly formatted essay now offers zero empirical proof of learning. The document looks identical, whether the student spent 50 hours wrestling with the concepts or 50 seconds writing a prompt. This is the reality of the modern classroom. The finished artifact and the cognitive effort required to build it are now permanently decoupled. Handed this problem, the immediate reflex of higher education was to reach for software. Institutions bought AI detectors, attempting to police the finished artifact and catch the machine in the act. The data shows these tools fail structurally. A systematic review of 14 detection platforms found them neither accurate nor reliable, heavily prone to passing AI-generated text off as human. This bar chart shows the false positive rates of GPT detectors across demographics, revealing a severe operational bias. The algorithms falsely flag more than 50% of essays written by non-native English speakers as machine-written, while native writing passes cleanly. This is not a temporary engineering gap that a software patch will fix. Work on the theoretical limits of detection proves that as language models improve, reliable detection becomes mathematically impossible. A light paraphrase merges the AI's output directly into the statistical distribution of human writing. Serious institutions are looking at this data and walking away. Vanderbilt University publicly shut down Turnitin's AI detector, stating plainly that the software is ineffective and should not be used. Building an academic integrity policy around detection is a mathematically guaranteed dead end. If we cannot catch the machine after the fact, we have to configure what the machine does before the text is ever written. Learning requires friction. A century of cognitive science shows that struggle is not a flaw in the educational process. Psychologists call this desirable difficulty. We learn through effort. Retrieving an answer outlasts rereading it, and wrestling with a problem builds durable pathways in the brain. Take the difficulty out, and the learning leaves with it. Standard AI usage is designed to eliminate friction. By immediately providing answers, it offloads the cognitive heavy lifting from the student's brain to a server. We can measure the cognitive cost of this offloading. A study of over 300 knowledge workers found a direct inverse correlation. The more a person trusted the AI to handle a task, the less of their own critical judgment they applied to the results. This chart tracks high school mathematics students given a standard AI assistant. Notice the artificial spike in performance during the practice phase. But when those same students sat for a later exam without the AI, their scores crashed. They leaned on a crutch, and the muscle atrophied. Using AI simply to bypass friction and retrieve answers structurally degrades long-term analytical reasoning. But the technology itself is not an engine for cheating. The AI is a neutral amplifier of its interface design. A randomized trial conducted at Harvard proves this. Researchers deployed a generative AI tutor in a university physics course and compared it to a highly effective active learning classroom. The researchers changed exactly one variable. The AI tutor was deliberately programmed to withhold the answer and question the student instead. This split-screen chart compares the outcomes. The students using the questioning AI achieved double the learning gains in less time than the students in the standard active learning environment. It is the exact same underlying technology. It produces completely opposite cognitive outcomes based on one design decision, whether the machine makes the human think first. Scaling this friction across an entire university requires a precise methodology. We call it Havruta. Havruta takes its name from chavruta, the ancient practice of paired study, where two people sit with a text and argue their way to understanding. A system built on listening, clearly articulating ideas, supporting your partner, and challenging assumptions. The Havruta protocol translates this physical tradition into a strict digital architecture. It configures the AI to act not as an answer engine, but as the questioning partner. The core mechanical interaction of this system is the flip, the exact moment the machine refuses an output and reverses the questioning back onto the user. Say a student prompts the AI to write an essay on minimum wage economics. In a standard system, the text generates instantly. In a Havruta configured system, the AI intercepts the prompt, hits a hard stop, and bounces the request back. The AI imposes hard constraints. It demands the student manually input their thesis, their primary evidence, and their strongest counterargument. Only after the student provides these concepts in their own words does the system begin assisting with the structure and refinement of the logic. The flip artificially re-injects desirable difficulty into the digital interface. It works because it forces the student to generate the one material the machine cannot fake, their own reasoning. Fixing the drafting process leaves one vulnerability. When grading time arrives, a Havruta-drafted essay still looks visually identical to a purely AI-generated one. To close the loop, we have to change the mechanism of assessment. If understanding is now built through dialogue with a machine, it must be evidenced through dialogue with a human. The university already owns the instrument for this. From the medieval disputatio to the modern doctoral defense, the Academy has historically tested knowledge by making candidates speak and defend their ideas out loud. The modern implementation scales this tradition down to the undergraduate level. It replaces a portion of silent written assessment with a 10-minute structured oral examination. The examiner sits with the final essay and, crucially, the Havruta-chat transcript. They interview the student directly about their drafting process, probing the specific logic choices they made while interacting with the AI. Evaluating a student through real-time conversation bypasses the detection problem entirely. You do not need software to prove if they used AI. You just ask them a hard question and assess the mind instead of the paper. Writing restrictive policies to govern unmonitorable software is an exercise in institutional fiction. A syllabus warning does not change what the interface does. When a student opens a language model alone at midnight, policy disappears. Only the constraints of the technology remain. Treat your current AI detection budget as the sunk cost it is. Reallocate those funds. Move the money away from policing the artifact and invest it in redesigning assessments and training faculty on dialogic grading. This forms a unified two-part academic practice that works with the technology rather than against it. Havruta is the learning method. The viva is the marking method. Generative AI provides a frictionless path for offloading thought. To protect human cognition, we have to use the machine to enforce the struggle. The universities that survive the AI transition will not be the ones with the strictest bans. They will be the ones who engineer the machine to enforce the oldest form of rigorous thought.